continue with our class Kosher Kitchen, and this session and all of them should be also dedicated to Rifash Lema, to our dear Rabbi Yaron Reuven Shlita. His name is Yaron Ben Doris, also to Yehudis Bas Noach, Ariela Ora Bas Ana, Imim Rasi Rachel Bas Brandel, David Shlomo Ben Sandra. Also to quick release of our dear friend Moshe Shmuel Ben Pnina, and Atzlacha Rabba to Giberes Chana Bas Avraham Avinu and the whole family. BeEzrat HaShem. So we continue with our class Kosher Kitchen today, and we're on the last chapter of this book, chapter 19, and we go through the list of utensils in alphabetical order and explain everything that we must know about those utensils. So next one is knife. I think somebody asked a question about knife. I said that's our next topic. So it says, every kosher kitchen should be supplied with a set of good sharp knives, clearly marked as parv. All fruits and vegetables should be cut with these knives only. One may not use dairy knife to cut even cold meat, or meat knife to cut cheese. One may not cut bread with dairy knife, dairy meal. One may not even cut bread for a dairy meal with a meat knife, or meat meal with a dairy knife, unless one does neitza. Neitza, we said, was it sticking to the ground 10 times, right, beforehand. So meaning to kosher it. If the knife was used without neitza, the cut surface of bread should be scraped. If dairy knife was used to cut root vegetables, for example carrot, they may be eaten with a meat meal after being thoroughly washed. A fruit or a juicy vegetables, for example an orange, watermelon, cucumber, cabbage, tomato, pumpkin, beet, or lettuce. Pumpkin. Okay. That was cut with a meat knife must be scraped with a parv knife to remove the outside surface of the food before it is eaten with dairy. Okay. Any sharp food cut, peeled, or scraped with a meat knife may not be eaten with dairy, or the reverse. Sharp foods include radish, garlic, onions, leek, horseradish, fresh olives, sour fruits, or vegetables, lemons, esrog, sour apples, and sour plums. Pickled fruit or vegetables, perhaps pickled cucumbers, or cucumbers, and salted herring. Okay, this is true regardless of whether or not the knife was clean, and regardless of whether or not the knife was used during the previous 24 hours to cut hot meat. If the sharp food is subsequently mixed or cooked with dairy food, a rav must be consulted. A sharp food cut with a meat knife, and certainly cut with a dairy knife, contain the taste of both meat and dairy. A rav must be consulted. So let's one second. No, it's very long. I think let's split it in two parts. Okay, so let's try to review this part and explain. So again, every kosher kitchen should be supplied with a set of good sharp knives, clearly marked as parv. So as we always say, I think color codes the best. So by us we have black handles, parv. Well, you can choose whatever color you like. Okay, so parv, meaning most of the food, if you think about it, parv, so have different parv knives, a long one, shorter one, like to cut bread, cut vegetables, to peel things, right? To peel, you need a shorter knife for other things. And usually many people, it's like even for fish, they have different knife. It's totally separate knife, right? How many knives you need for fish? If you scale in fish, so maybe need one more. If you have scaler, right? Meaning one knife usually enough. You can get two. That's it. Like one longer, one shorter. Most of the time, that's more than enough. Unless a person eats a lot of fish and they also clean it. Okay, that's a different story, right? So most of the knives would be part of knives. Then if a person eats a lot of meat, right? I mean comparable. So more meat knives to cut hot meat, to cut cold meat, right? Also for what? Also for daily, depends. Like what they cut. Like we have only one knife, daily knife. They have like these table knives also. Like they're not very sharp, but you can cut many things with them. Right? If you eat something with a fork and knife, that's more than enough. But to cut cheese, you cannot cut cheese nicely with a table knife, right? So you have like a bigger knife. But that's it. So minimum 3 sets of knives, preferably 4. But one set is for one set or one knife for fish. Again, not strictly necessary, but suggested. Okay. So again, every kosher kitchen should be supplied with a set of good sharp knives, clearly marked as paref. Okay. All fruit and vegetables should be cut with these knives only. Right. So that's very clear. All fruit and vegetables should be cut with these knives only, because as we saw, as we're going to see now, there are sharp foods. Sharp foods could be vegetables. Sharp foods could be fruits, right? Fruits or vegetables. So that's why the rule never cut with other than the paref knife. So I think if you start, even if people sometimes like a switch, I think it's time to stop and maybe hide. That's what I told one person. Hide all of the knives, right? From yourself. Leave on top only. Hide meaning put in a drawer. Leave on top only paref knife. So and then if of course you know it's paref knife. So if you need to cut meat, you're going to get a meat knife. Very simple, right? So because a person was using a lot meat knife because it's sharper, this and that, so it's not right. It's not right. Okay. So continue. One may not use daily knife to cut cold meat. So I mean, technically, as we said before, technically there is no problem technically, but practically it is a big problem, right? Especially if this knife, if a person cuts with a daily knife the cold meat, so most likely they cut everything with that knife, so they do not care. Okay, so that's a problem. So again, one may not use a daily knife to cut cold meat, or meat knife to cut cheese. So again, everything is cold, so right, okay, but problematic. One may not eat the bread. One may not even cut bread for a daily meal with a meat knife, nor a meat bread, nor for a meat meal with a daily knife. So I mean, knife, like again, it's proper to have. We have one knife. I don't know, was it marked as a bread knife? I'm not sure, but it's the only knife that you can normally cut the bread. Other knives, they're sharp, but they're not for bread. So I mean, designate one knife for bread. Usually it's a longer one, like with the teeth, right? That cuts beautifully, perfectly. So I would suggest just put aside, right, and that's right, and you use only for bread only. So we have one knife that we use only for bread. Have I used for some? I don't know. I think for bread. Okay. All right. So all right. So and unless he said don't use this knife, for example, daily knife cut bread for a meat meal, right? Unless you do netza. So netza, sticking to the ground 10 times. Okay. So meaning this ground, and we said it should not be too soft. not too strong, not too dense, like normal ground. So it was like with some abrasive in there, so it should clean the blade. Okay. So continue. Okay, and of course he said to. No, continue. If the knife was used without netza, so meaning they cut bread, right? The cut surface of the bread should be scraped, right? So if anything, since it was dry, so right, it's on top. Just scrape the top. Okay. So next one, if dairy knife was used to cut root vegetables, for example, carrots. So we say that it's very dense. Okay, carrots. So meaning that it's they're so dense, so we're not afraid that that taste actually was absorbed into these vegetables. That's why it's enough just to clean it. Potato is another one. Okay. Right. And they may be eaten with the meal after they've been thoroughly washed. So because of the density. So the others are more softer, of course, as a juicier. Right? A fruit or vegetables, a fruit or a juicy vegetable, for example, orange, watermelon, cucumber. So since they're juicy, so that's what we're trying to say, that they would absorb the taste, right? Cucumber, cabbage, I'm sorry. Cabbage, tomato, pumpkin, beet, or lettuce. Okay. So beet, I was a little surprised about the beet. So beet is very, very hard unless you cook it. But maybe the problem is because it's juicy inside. Right. So all of these examples that was cut with a meat knife must be scraped. So meaning scraped, meaning that it got absorbed a little. So just washing is not enough. Scrape with a paref knife to remove the outside surface of the food before eating with dairy. Okay. Or don't eat with dairy. Okay, so we have to be like very organized. If you're organized, there is no problem whatsoever. Vegetables, only paref knife. That's it. You're safe. You add you cut onions, you cut garlic, you cut everything with this what is it? Paref knife, and that's it. So continue. Any sharp food, any sharp food cut, peeled or scraped with a knife may not be eaten with a dairy or reverse. So all of these foods, or all of these nuts, all of these instruments are considered to be knives, right? So a peeler is a knife, scraper, right? Also a knife and a knife, of course, right? In the same category. What would we cut in meat with the scraper? I'm not sure. Right, but we have to be careful. Just again the whole sentence. Any sharp food cut, peeled or scraped with a meat knife may not be eaten with dairy. With dairy or the reverse. I'm not sure what scraper how you use scraper. Oh, actually no, there is a scraper, right. We don't use it, but I saw, you know what I say? I saw in a butcher store, right? He would like scrape the fat, right? There is a special. I'm not sure how is a special for meat. I'm not sure, right? But he used the scraper. We don't buy this kind of meat, right? But it was a scraper. Okay. Continue. Sharp foods include radish. So here's at least almost all of them, I think, right? Sharp foods include radish. That's for sure. Garlic. Okay, for sure. Onions, for sure. Leek. Okay. Horseradish. Okay. Fresh olives. I mean, I'm not sure if somebody tried to fresh olive. They're very bitter. Very much. Okay. Sour fruit. So sour fruit meaning sometimes they're not ripe yet, but some of them sour. They're always sour, right? Even they're ripe. Or vegetables. For example, lemon, right? Lemon, esrog, sour apples, or sour plums. I never tasted sour plums. Okay. Pickled fruit. Pickled fruits. Pickled always with salt. Okay, maybe. Pickled fruit, okay. Or vegetables. Vegetables, yes. Like perhaps pickled cucumbers and sauerkraut. Sauerkraut. Okay. So for sure. And salted herring. So all of these herrings, all of this. I think even not only herrings. Maybe even smoked fish. I think so. This shoe, regardless of whether or not the knife was clean, and regardless of whether or not the knife was not used for 24 hours to cut hot meat. So as we said, the nature of knives is very different. With other foods, we know that even if you use this something hot, after we wash it, after there is no residue, or even there is a residue, right? If after the fact, it's only after the fact. But let's say straightforward according to all of the opinions, right? So if you washed this pot that was used for something, right? For what? For dairy, right? Cook dairy in the pot. You clean it after 24 hours, so technically it's a parv. Technically, okay. Rabbis say don't do it, but technically it is a parv, right? Right, because the taste went pagum. Pagum means spoiled, but not so with a knife. We said the taste from a knife comes from the like absorbs into knife through the pressure, not necessarily through the heat. Of course, through the heat as well. Right, if a person cuts hot meat, right, for sure, right, is any other utensil, but also through the pressure. So, and we said same with a fork, same with other things, right? Also problematic, meaning since you cut with a force, so it's a status of a knife. Okay. Okay. So forks, I think it's he does not stress it. We just mentioned one, but I think the forks is the most problematic ones. I think, right, because you eat salad with that, right? So salad meaning onions and other things. Okay. Continue. So meaning even if it's more than 24 hours, I don't remember that we said there is any exclusion. For example, if it stay unused for 1 year, the taste goes away. I don't remember we said that. Maybe, but that's exception of the knife. The taste is going to stay there. So the only way how to get it out is through the netza. Okay, continue. Right. If sharp food was subsequently mixed with the cooked dairy food, right, that the person cut with a meat knife, a rough must be consulted. So it's not such a easy thing to understand how much was this food and how much was that food. Okay, and I guess we go by the surface. Not so simple to determine. A sharp food cut with a meat knife and subsequently cut with a dairy knife contain the taste of both meat and dairy. A rough must be consulted. Okay, so and we always say consult your rough. I mean, if he does not know or it's too questionable, so only then you can get rid of the food. But otherwise, as we said, it would be like a waste of food for no reason. Right. So as we said, I don't remember in introduction to a chapter, but we said it very clear. Maybe to this chapter, right? So some people want to go stringent, but there's no such a halachah. So if you want to get stringently like in spiritual things with you, there is no problem. But baltashlis, like to waste resources that HaShem gave you, it's a problematic. If you want to go give it to somebody else, maybe it's not a problem. But otherwise, to throw in the garbage is a problem. Okay. So continue. There is a popular misconception that any treif knife can be kosher through Neitza. We never said that. This is untrue. A knife, if any other utensil, as any other, must be kosher with libum or hagala. While a knife may be cleaned of residue on the outside surface through Neitza, it cannot be koshered, right? There is a purge of absorbed taste with Neitza. Neitza is a procedure thrusting the knife into the earth 10 times. Right? This method is described at length chapter 8, long time ago. Right? We're on 19. Section 3. Okay. Only smooth knife, not serrated knife, can be koshered with Neitza. Right. The following are some of the instances where Neitza is effective or required. Non-kosher knife, whether a knife of non-Jew or a Jewish knife that became treif, may be used temporarily for cold, non-sharp foods after Neitza. Okay. However, it cannot be used for hot foods, even temporarily, or even for cold foods on a permanent basis. So that's, I think we combine in two opinions here. Okay. Next one. One who has only a meat knife and wishes to cut bread for a daily meal, or the reverse, must do the Neitza beforehand. Okay. A daily knife, if a daily knife was inadvertently used to cut cold meat and was not cleaned immediately after use, the residue dries onto the knife, onto the knife surface, and is removed only by Neitza. With Neitza, of course, you wash, but after you wash. Right. So Neitza removes something invisible, basically. A knife used to cut very hard food, for example, meat knife, inadvertently used to cut hard cheese, required Neitza before it may be returned to its original status. A daily knife is inadvertently used, to cut warm but not hot meat, or a meat knife is used to cut warm cheese. The knife required Neitza. One who cuts a worm while slicing a sharp food must kosher the knife with Neitza. Okay, so a worm meaning is an insect, right? Where the Neitza is required, when the Neitza is simply washing, scrubbing, wiping the knife will not do. Although scrubbing a knife well with detergent and steel wool may perhaps be equally effective, Neitza is nevertheless preferred method and should be employed when possible. One living in an urban area without access to the hard soil should do Neitza in flower pot that contains hard earth. Okay. So we'll see. Usually in flower pots do not have hard earth, usually. And unless they press it. Usually they put like this what is it? Like they add some to the potting like mixes that you buy from Home Depot or something, right? It's they're not hard. Okay, so let's do from the beginning and we try to explain. BeEzrat HaShem. There is a popular misconception that any treif knife can be kosher through Neitza. So through Neitza means sticking to the ground. No, you can only clean, right? This is untrue. A knife, as any other utensil, must be kosher with libum or hagala. So libum is when you heat it up until it becomes glowing. I'm not sure how to do it with knife because for sure you're going to damage the handle if it's wood or or others, like even if you put like what you can put aluminum foil. I'm not sure if you like the temperature is so high, it's like you can melt the handle simply. Right, Hagala is more practical, I think. Okay. All right. While the knife may be cleaned of the residue on the outside surface through the netza, right, it cannot be kosher. So clean through the sticking in the ground, yes, but to kosher, no. Okay. Right, there is a partial absorb test with netza. Okay, so cannot. So meaning you do netza is a clean, then do netza, and then only then you can kosher. The netza is a process of thrusting the knife into hard earth 10 times. Right. So it's not somebody who lives in the city, right? It's not so simple to find it. And even like you go to the park or something, there people would not like it very much, unless you go like 3 in the morning or something. I don't know. Maybe also not good. Very very suspicious and dangerous. But maybe go when it's raining. Raining maybe also not good. I don't know. Technically, it's possible to find a like place. Okay. So, but it should not be too hard as the earth, and it should not be too soft, right? But it should be on another hand soft enough so you can go with so whole blade completely into the ground. Also, some knives have long blades, right? So it could be like a very nice earth, meaning that there is no like roots, no stones. Also, not so simple, not so simple. So again, the netza is a process of thrusting the knife into the hard earth 10 times. He said hard, but again, it's hard but penetratable, right? Otherwise, like right, there is no point. This method is described at length, chapter 8. Okay, skip it. Continue. Only the smooth knife and not serrated knife. So serrated, as I understand this with teeth, right, can be kosher with netza, right, because it's straight. Okay. The following are some of the instances where netza is effective or required. So effective or required. So meaning, again, we're not talking about kosher, and we're talking about cleaning. So first case, non-kosher knife, whether knife of a non-Jew or Jewish knife that became treif, right? So meaning we know it's not a good knife, may be used temporarily on a cold, not sharp foods after netza. Okay, so meaning that they only stick into the ground, right? So meaning sticking 10 times in the ground would allow us to use this knife temporarily for non-sharp and cold, not sharp and cold. So meaning non-sharp, it's cold, as we said before, this almost no transfer of the taste. Okay, even though it's knife, but after the thrusting into the earth, it helps. Again, temporarily. However, it cannot be used with the hot foods, because hot foods for sure there's like a transfer of the taste, even temporarily, right? Or even for cold foods on a permanent basis. So temporarily, the way I understand, maybe for 1 day, for 2 days, that's it. For Shabbos, so if you have no other knives, for example, but that's it. So I mean to have a clear plan when you're going to kosher. Continue. One who has only a meat knife and wishes to cut bread for daily meal, or the reverse, must do netza beforehand. So meaning there is no problem with the knife. It's just a meat knife, right? The person cut this hot meat, for example, right? Stick into the ground for 10 times. Then you can cut bread. Bread is part of, but this bread is going to be used with daily meal. So that's a very good example. Next one, if daily knife was inadvertently used to cut cold meat, daily knife was cold meat, and was not cleaned immediately after use, right? So we said cleaning immediately helps, and until when it's like this residue hardens is a problem. is a problem. So right, and now you need the kosher big time, right? Not use immediately, not clean immediately after use. The residue dries onto the knife surface and removed only with nature. So now cleaning is not enough. While it's still fresh, you can clean with a soap, as we said. Steel wool, usually even steel wool is not necessary. Like the soap, I don't know what they add to the soap, but it actually melts everything. Right, so which is good. Continue. Next one. A knife used to cut very hard food. For example, meat knife inadvertently used to cut hard cheese. Right, so meaning for sure it's a problem. Meat knife is cut cheese. Requires netza before it may be returned to original status. So again, there was no cutting vegetables, right? It's meat knife and cut cold cheese, but it's very hard. So in this case, you need netza. Okay. Next one, dairy knife is inadvertently used to cut worm, but not hot meat. So hot is b'baf yatzel lesbo, right? So that your hand recoils. But if you just took a piece of meat from the pot, yeah, it would be that hot. But otherwise, I don't think so. Right. Next, continue. The dairy knife is the dairy knife is inadvertently to cut a worm, but not hot meat. Or meat knife that used to cut warm cheese, right? Warm cheese, and knife required netza. So meaning warm cheese may be omelet, right? They put the omelet already into the plate on the plate. So meaning it's not that hot. Okay, it is warm, right? So it requires netza. Continue. Next one. One who cuts a worm inside of while slicing a sharp food. Must kosher the knife is netza. Cut a worm. I'm not sure how. I mean, maybe in sharp apples. Sharp foods. Actually, they said that you have to check scallions for it might be worms there. I never ever even approximately saw anybody nothing. But people say yeah. It says that you have to check. Radishes, I don't know. I think it's so bitter. Why would a worm eat them? I'm not sure. There are other better foods I think available. I understand lettuce and other things, yes, but cat's worm, slicing sharp food. Okay. Continue. So maybe today where we live, they put so many chemicals. They spray all of these vegetables so that there are no worms. Maybe like that. Okay, but if you buy something from a farmer, well, it could be an issue. It's a totally different case. While the netza is required, simply washing, scrubbing, and wiping a knife is not will not do. So meaning we wash and scrub, we do all of this cleaning before the netza, but still we do netza afterwards. Although scrubbing a knife well with detergent and steel wool may perhaps be equally effective, right? The netza is nevertheless his preferred method and should be employed when possible. So here, when possible, we go in with some leniency. So this steel wool, you apply the pressure, and this steel wool has all the chemicals. Usually it's very good, but we go by old tradition. So our old tradition is to stick into the ground. One living in urban area without access to the hard earth should donate a flower pot that contains hard earth. I mean, I'm not sure how big it should be the pot, and a person would be afraid to cut roots. Also, if there is a plant there, and usually, as I said, from time to time they use a fertilizer, right? Fertilizer, so meaning it's very the earth would be not as hard. Okay, but that's what it is. So meaning, if they say you can do a flower pot, you can do a flower pot, right? But not if you just replant this plant. It's because it would be too soft. Okay. No problem. So continue. Knife. Next one, knife sharpener. One may sharpen both meat and dairy knives on the same sharpener, provided that they were thoroughly cleaned, preferably with steel wool beforehand. Some have a custom use a separate sharpener for meat and dairy knives, and knives sharpened does not require tevilah. Okay, so let's try to understand knife sharpener. So usually, like I think the cheapest solution would be to buy one that there is a separate, like I don't know, stones or whatever we call it for sharpening, right? And that's it. And we designate one for dairy, so like maybe put some kind of marker there, and another one or two for meat knife, and that's it. You can buy technically one, but with several sections. Okay, so and that does not need tevilah because it does not touch the actual food. Okay, so technically they say some people use one for both of them, right? Because it cuts off the surface. So, but of course, clean it nicely beforehand. So next one is ladle. So ladle is remember in our class Shabbos kitchen we spent some time on this ladle topic. Okay, whether it's a secondary vessel or a tertiary vessel. No. Whether it's it was a separate status, something that is submerged. I apologize. So something that is submerged in primary vessel, right? Clearly shown becomes like a clearly shown itself. Okay. So meaning the question was, are you allowed to add croutons to your or matzah to your bowl of soup? Okay, or it's going to be cooking. So it's secondary vessel or primary vessel. Okay, so let's see. Ladle. Meat and dairy ladles should not be similar, right? So just make different colors or the different materials even, right? So for sure you're not going to make mistake. So today, as I said, it's so simple, like to buy this red ladles or something. So for meat, and it's very simple. So in nowadays it was like to buy something in red. It was like maybe one company, this KitchenAid, and maybe another one, and that's it. Like all of them were stainless steel or black. Period. Right. Right. So if you got it, so and these red ones would cost you like 3 times more. Today, I saw something some right. We had to order to somebody's weddings. Things like it comes. So it's a registry, right? They send you the registry. You buy them gifts, right? So it was I don't remember what was it, like some sets of like serving spoons, like 17 colors, from pink to I don't know black, all of the everything from white to pink and black and red and everything in between. Okay, so do color codes, for sure it's the best. So again, the meat and dairy ladles should not be similar. If they are similar, the dairy ladle should be marked to differentiate it from the meat ladle. If ladle of one type is inserted into part of another type, a rough must be consulted. So meaning it was hot. I mean, I don't want to say for sure, but usually when it's cold, you usually nobody uses ladle. So if you need to taste it, usually people use a spoon. So but ladle usually when it's the way I understand it's almost done. Okay, so it's very hot, meaning. So if they insert this dairy ladle into the soup, so that's what this Rabbi is going to ask. Like at what point was it boiling, not boiling? Right, and all of these other things, additional things to confuse person, to understand that the person is telling the truth, actually. Right. Continue. One should not use meat ladle to serve parve food cooked in a dairy pot. Whoa. If this was done, Rav should be consulted. Pot of soup that was cooked in a pot of soup cooked in a pot should not be served as a dairy bowl into the dairy bowl with a meat ladle, or the reverse. A stainless steel ladle requires tevilah with bracha. The aluminum ladle requires tevilah without bracha. A plastic ladle does not require tevilah. Okay, so let's do these ladles again. So again, from the beginning, so meat or dairy ladle should be dissimilar, right? That's clear, because they use with hot foods, and in general, even with the cold foods, and plus this cutting boards, all of this should be separate. So people who do not cook a lot of dairy, so one even like a smaller cutting boards, you don't have to buy like huge ones, right? The smaller cutting boards, plastic or whatever, white. So it should be like clearly everybody would understand that it is for dairy. And for example, we have one cutting board, like it is white plastic, but it has a red brim, right? It was like this, right? So that's so everybody understand it is a dairy, right? It's one of them. It's a dairy bag or something. I don't know. Something like, for sure there is red, so everybody understands dairy. Okay. If ladle of one type is inserted in the pot of the other type, so pot is most likely it's hot, right? The Rav should be consulted. If it's a cold one, it's not a problem. If it's below Yatz Ladazbo, that's what Rabbi is going to ask us, right? If it's below Yatz Ladazbo, so he would say just wash it nicely. That's it. One should not use a meat ladle to serve pot of food cooked in a dairy pot. So somebody cooked pot of food in a dairy pot, right? So don't use a meat ladle. Okay. So because soup is usually eaten while hot, even while cold should also not be done. If it was done, Rav should be consulted. So he would ask us, I think, like how long this ladle was submerged. Right, if it's only like a quick just got the soup and pour into the bowl, maybe it's not a big deal. Okay. Or the reverse. A stainless steel ladle requires tevilah with bracha, right? Stainless. Aluminum ladle requires tevilah without bracha. Okay. Right. Aluminum, right? It's rabbinic, right? So they say very similar aluminum to other ones mentioned in the Torah, but it's not from the Torah. Okay, the plastic ladle does not require tevilah. Okay, but again, as we always say, even it says does not require. If you wanted to towel, there is nobody should stop you. Like and I know people that they it's not the stringency. I mean, in their mind, they say we want to get rid of this impurity, spiritual impurity. I say, look, if you want, there is no problem, but it should not be in expense of studying Torah, right? If you so person said, well, what do you mean? I said, if you're going to drive there, for example, and you have to drive there, I don't know, like half an hour. I'm just saying, right? Half an hour to the mikveh. So make sure that you listen to the Torah. Don't take with you a friend or like somebody family member chit chat the whole time. Like it would be a waste of time. In this case, it would be better for you not to go, not to towel this plastic and just learn Torah, right? But if you're going to learn on the way, yeah, there is no problem. Okay. So next one, measuring spoons or cup. One may use a part of measuring spoons or cup to measure cold milk. Okay. Some scrupulous individual would refrain from doing so. We never done it. Never, ever. A metal, not aluminum, or glass measuring cup, measuring spoon or cup, required tevilah with bracha. So again, in some recipes you need milk, but for bread, as we said before a long time ago, but I just remind you, the dairy bread is very problematic. There is some exceptions under which our rabbis allow us to bake the dairy bread, but those are exceptions. We try not to do it. So again, one may use part of measuring spoons or a cup to measure cold milk, right? Because it's cold and you're going to wash it, right? Some scrupulous individuals would refrain from doing so. Okay. I'm not sure. I don't know anybody. It's not like I discussed this topic with all of the people, but it's hard for me to imagine that any religious person would do that. I mean, like after the fact, maybe yes, but to begin with, have dairy cup. You can measure how much is in dairy cup, right? For example, you have dairy cup, you have measuring cup, so you need that much. So you put water, or you pour water in the measuring cup, put in your dairy cup, so you know approximately how much is it, and that's it. Then you throw out the water and pour the milk in that regular cup. That's it. You set. Okay. And these measuring cups, they don't cost much. They're so cheap to buy the set, right? So it's not worth it to go in this in this problem, and then that person forgot, and now they decided to wash it. And guess what? Now they have to wash it with the hot water, right? And now hot water sponge without soap. So all of these things. So now it's this cup become now 100% dairy. So cold is no problem, but cold with milk with hot water, so it becomes hot milk. Okay. So quickly check time a second. Okay, I think we stop here. So next one is also big, also controversy. I mean, we gave different psak to different people based on the circumstances about microwaves oven. Right? Is it possible to kosher microwave oven? Yes, if it's have no choice and you are under the pressure, yes. But otherwise, if you can replace it, it's better to replace it. Okay, no problem.